How are you doing, you wonderful nerds? Scott here, and we are doing another Tales from the Comments video. We're bringing it back every week if I can hope to do so. Oh, there's my cat in the background. Hey, buddy. God, he looks terrifying. All right. Don't get on his bad side. So if you missed the show last week, the way that we're going to be doing this from now on is I am going to be reading the comments for the very first time on camera, and I didn't pick them out. They were picked out by our social media person, Lanisha. We'll throw a pic of her somewhere. So I guess let's just dive right in, and we're going to be talking about the comments from, we had just one video last week, which was Superman versus the KKK. A lot of great stuff. Let's get to it. All right, very first comment comes from Enquiries. Come on, guys, right out of the gate. You want to give me with a name that I don't know how to pronounce? They say, great video, Scott. This came out at the right time. Ever since Charlottesville, both Nazis and KKK believe that the country belongs to them. The radio show has Superman even condemning hate groups, something our president took 3 days to do. I hope they really adapt situations like this for an issue of Superman Rebirth. I think it's important to have superheroes that show hate groups are nothing but inferior. All right, Lanisha's picking the comments that right out of the gate get political. I love it. Oh, look, honestly, this is something that I said at the beginning of the video. This is something that a lot of other people pointed out. We'll probably get to some more comments about it as well. But, you know, a lot of people wanted me to cover this topic, this story for years, like ever since I started this channel. And I just didn't really feel like I wanted to do it. And, of course, with the kind of cultural climate that's going on right now, I felt like, you know what? Why not? Give it a go. Let's see how it works. I feel like it's only appropriate. As for adapting something like this into a comic book form, I would really love that. I know a lot of people will hate it. There's the thing in the comics right now where people don't really like very blatant and very obvious political stories, which is a whole separate series of videos that I'm planning on doing come December, actually, about politics in comics. But I think if they were to do something like this in the comics, modern day, especially DC, then people would hate it. Marvel's struggling with that right now. People really kind of railing against Marvel for being very political. So, I don't know. It would be tricky. They'd have to maybe not make it so blatant, which kind of sucks, because the best part about this story was just how blatant the radio show was. They did not pull any punches, figurative or literal, and it was just... It was great. It was amazing. Moving on, we have Onat, who says, I love it when comic book heroes tackle real-world problems. You're not a hero if you're not trying to change the world for a better place. And Soups, you are one. Great fit, Scott. Yeah, honestly, it kind of harkens back to what Superman was originally created for, right? Being a champion of the oppressed, being someone who would stand up for real-life problems in the real world. I mean, one of his very first villains that he would face weren't necessarily monsters. They were just, like, corrupt businessmen. So, I don't know. I would love to see Superman kind of get back to the roots in there a little bit. And maybe not just in the comics, but also just in other media. I would love to see... God, I would love to see, like, an animated movie of this. Are you kidding me? That would be awesome. Marvel Thalia says, and people say comics aren't political. Yes, so this is, again, we're going to do, like, a whole series come December, hopefully if I can get it written. And I'm teaming up with a bunch of other cool comic book YouTubers and just smart people in general to kind of flesh it out. But, like, yeah. Comic books and politics, that's like a whole 4 to 5 part series I could talk about, and I will talk about eventually. Just hang in there, everybody. But I think it'll be a good time. Next up, we have Cool Trainer, VaultBoy39, who says, if I remember correctly, weren't they going to make a biopic of this story? Like what they're doing with Wonder Woman's creator? Also, are no prizes coming back? Haha. You know, I honestly forgot about the no prizes, but give me 1 second. Boom! There it is. NerdSync no prize. I have just a whole stack of them right here still. So you know what? For reminding me about no prizes, you get a no prize this week, and I'll probably award another one to some other comment, potentially, or I won't. We'll see how the future goes. I'm sure my editor will throw up some information about the movie on screen, about when it comes out and what it is and all that stuff. Or they won't. Crazy J Sphere says, if the Superman radio show is running out of ideas, make a DCRU, DC Radio Universe. That is fascinating. I really, you know what? Doing research on this story and just radio adventure dramas in general, it just really makes me want to go back to that time. And I'm sure there are a bunch of podcasts out there that have narrative radio dramas. So if you could actually recommend some to me, I would appreciate that in the comments, please. Thank you. Owen Flores says, Scott, you are masterful at delivering amazing comic book stories that shape our very world. I can't wait to show my teachers your work and how inspiring you are. I want to use this as a source for my English project. You're incredible. Thank you so much. I would say probably don't use my video for a source of your English paper. I would use the book itself, Superman vs. the Ku Klux Klan by Rick Bowers, because there's a ton of information in here that I had to cut out for the sake of time in the video and just because I wanted to make it as clear as possible. But for example, there were a lot of characters cut out. Stetson Kennedy, right, the main kind of guy, he wasn't actually undercover as a Klan member when he was reporting information to the Superman radio show. He was actually a handler for a guy with the alias John Brown, and I wanted so desperately to include that because I think it's another misconception that Stetson Kennedy was the one undercover as he was reporting information, but he wasn't. But it's just, I didn't want to introduce a character, just another player into this whole mess. I just felt like it would confuse things. So definitely check out the book and other sources. You can maybe use mine if you want to, I don't know, get a bald man's opinion on it. But definitely go to the better sources. William Holtzclaw says, I love Superman when he's written like this. None of the edgy nonsense. He doesn't need it. Superman is, above all else, the man of tomorrow. Yeah, totally. And what was also really interesting about this story is they made it their mission to kind of take Superman as much out of the way as possible. They wanted the real heroes, they wanted the regular people to be heroes in the stories in their own right. Whereas Superman was there to, I guess, more so save other people when they were in trouble or kind of swoop in at the last second to, like deflect the bullets that were being shot at people. But when it came to actually, like, taking down the Clan of the Fiery Cross, it was more so just the people, the regular citizens. And Superman, it kind of goes back to this idea that Superman is a character who should make you feel like you're the one who could do anything. He can pretty much do anything, but his greatest power, I guess, is making other people feel like they're the powerful ones. And yeah, just this story absolutely encapsulates that. Just some guy with a mustache says, that radio show really did wonders for Superman. Gave us kryptonite, one of his visions, forget which one, etc. One of his visions. If I don't actually know this to be a fact, but if it is true, I would guess his, like, the ability to see really, really, really far away. He uses that in the radio show a lot. They talk about it as if it's his X-ray vision, but like everything stems from his X-ray vision, right? Even his heat vision was in the comic books first described as the heat from his X-ray vision. So I wonder if they're just like using his telescopic vision. They still call it X-ray vision. Maybe that was the one? I don't know. Someone fact check that on me. And it looks like some of you guys caught my Hamilton references. There were actually 3 Hamilton references, other than obviously the musical break one. That's one. The how do they know that the spies would work, or how do they know the plan would work? They had a spy on the inside. That's 2. But there's a 3rd one that's a little bit trickier that you kind of have to be almost a mega Hamilton fan to understand, and I'll leave that up to you guys to see who can figure that one out. I'll give you a hint. It's actually from a cut song from Hamilton. It's not from any of the actual songs that made it into the final thing, so that's how deep we're going with this one. Tara Simone, never stop with the Hamilton lyrics. Musicals, especially Hamilton, and comic books are by perfect combination, and no musical spreads the message and past of America while showing off its great diversity more than Hamilton. The KKK surely hates it, and that's a beautiful thing. Oh, wonderful. It was totally just because I'm in love with Hamilton and not because I wanted to draw any parallels between the Superman KKK story and Hamilton, but I guess, in a sense, they both use entertainment to kind of teach about the culture of either the time that it's in or just the time that the story takes place in, necessarily. So I don't know. They're kind of really interesting parallels in that sense. I I don't know. Maybe there was something there. Maybe I was subconsciously trying to make a broader point than just singing Hamilton. Larry Bonson says, Luke or Black Panther would make more sense than Superman. I'm assuming you mean Luke Cage, and which I will say, yes, I think a story featuring those characters to tell racial issues is important. The biggest problem is, of course, that I don't think those characters existed at the time when this story came out. But even if they did, or the story was told in a decade when they existed, what was really interesting that they did in the Superman radio show was they didn't use a black kid as the victim of the Klan, right? They very purposely used a Chinese American, right, Tommy Lee, who their idea was to show that it was the Klan hated everyone. The Klan hated everyone who wasn't white dudes. And so by kind of breaking this belief that they only hate black people, they kind of helped spread even more information about the Klan's purpose and their beliefs and everything like that. So I don't know. I see where you're coming from. I totally agree with you. But I also think with Superman as that kind of hugely popular character, you get more of a reach. You get more of a broader reach with the story. And ultimately, I don't know. It has merits in that sense. To reach more people. Trace Belcher, you brought up something that I knew everyone would bring up, and I want to explain myself. At 1742, it says Operation Interrence. It's a mild typo aside. Great episode, Scott. Keep up the good work. Yes, so let me go ahead and explain myself about this one. Because when we were originally creating these bumpers, Andrew, who was the editor for that episode, so I'm blaming him. Clearly, he wrote Operation Intolerance in a different font that kind of was more like a stencil-y, militaristic kind of a thing to kind of go with that vibe. But then at the last second, I had him change it back to the font that matched the rest of the bumpers. And it was like the very last thing that I slid into the episode and just hit export. I didn't even check. I was just like, slide it in. It's probably good. Let's go. And then you and a couple other people pointed it out as well. So... my anxiety goes crazy when I think about it, so everyone just ignore it. Pretend that it says Operation Intolerance. Don't read too much into it. Brad Napper says, the editing in this video is phenomenal, Scott. Keep up the fantastic work. Thank you so much. Like I said, it wasn't just me, it was also my editor, Andrew, who worked on that episode. Together, it was a cool joint effort thing. I was really worried that talking about the radio show would be really boring to watch and just listen to, so we tried our best to make it as fun and exciting and engaging as we possibly could. Hopefully it worked. All right, I think that is the final comment for this video. Thank you guys so much for all the great comments. This barely scratches the surface. We got a ton of awesome conversations going in there. Next week, I think I'm gonna try to get Lanisha to pick more discussion, debate, comments that we can talk about here so we can continue the conversation. I think that would be a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for sharing the video. A lot of you guys did that. It's actually, once again, not performing super great. So all of you guys who are watching it, if you could just share it around, give it a like, do whatever you can to help spread the message, spread that story around, because it's a really cool story and I think it's really applicable in our space right now today. So would really appreciate the help. And of course, I would love to thank our patrons, especially Christopher Lang, Keaton Lampert, Mike Harville, Elizabeth Monsell, and the rest of the wonderful nerds who support us over at patreon.com/nerdsync. If you want your name here, go there. That's how you do it. And like I said, if you missed our video from last week about Superman versus the KKK, you can watch it right here. And like I said, please share it around. I would really appreciate that. And here is another video that YouTube's computery brains think that you will like. Look, I don't question it. I don't know how it works. Make sure you hit that big sexy subscribe button. My name is Scott, reminding you to read between the panels and grow smarter through comics. See ya.